At approximately 2:03 a.m. yesterday, a large-scale Ukrainian drone swarm consisting of 48 long-range one-way attack drones approached the airspace over Mordovia, Russia. Their primary objective was the Saransk Mechanical Plant, a key facility identified as a production center for mines being deployed in the Donbass. As the swarm closed on the target, Russian defenders activated a Krasukar 4 electronic warfare system. This system is designed to project a powerful jamming field, emitting about 500 watts of energy to disrupt all standard GPS frequencies. For most satellite-reliant munitions, this level of interference would constitute a mission kill. However, the attack formation continued, appearing unfazed by the GPS-denied environment. Analysis indicates these drones were equipped with a custom firmware package. Upon detecting a total loss of satellite signal, this logic reportedly initiated an alternative navigation protocol. The drones, identified as AQ400 Scythe models, employed an onboard AI navigation system, Skynode. This system actively compared the drone's live optical feed with a preloaded satellite terrain map, navigating using visual landmarks such as roads, rivers, and forests. This terrain contour matching capability rendered GPS jamming ineffective. The entire swarm maintained formation, flying at a low altitude of about 40 feet to remain below the detection threshold of long-range early warning radars. At 2:06 a.m., as the swarm reached a 10-mile engagement radius, the drones initiated a pre-planned tactical maneuver. This phantom shift saw the swarm split. 44 of the drones, designated as decoys, abruptly climbed to an altitude of 1,000 feet. This maneuver was designed to intentionally present multiple, clear targets to the facility's layered air defenses. The defending Pantsir S-1 air defense system operator's console was immediately saturated with dozens of contacts. The system, while capable of tracking numerous targets, is limited by its engagement channels, reportedly able to engage only 4 targets simultaneously. 5 seconds later, the Pantsir system commenced its engagement, launching a first volley of 12 TKB-1055 interceptor missiles. Each missile, accelerating to a speed estimated at Mach 3.5, successfully intercepted 12 of the decoy drones, resulting in a 100% kill rate for the salvo. This engagement, however, was the anticipated outcome for the Ukrainian planners. The core of this tactic was not to evade the Pantsir system, but to exploit its primary limitation, its magazine depth. A Pantsir S-1 vehicle carries 12 ready-to-fire missiles. After expending them, it requires a mechanical reload from a support vehicle, a process that introduces a critical delay. At 2:06 and 27 seconds a.m., following a rapid reload, the Pantsir system launched its second volley of 12 missiles. This salvo successfully destroyed another 12 decoy drones. In under 30 seconds, the air defense system had expended 24 missiles and eliminated 24 targets. However, the system had now used half of its total combat load to destroy about $720,000 in decoys. As the system's interface signaled ammunition depleted, reload cycle initiated, the Russian defenses entered a critical 60-second pause. During this window, the remaining 24 drones, comprising 20 decoys and 4 primary strike drones, closed the distance to just 5 miles. The facility's most effective air defense asset was, for the moment, out of the engagement. The timing of this engagement pause was not coincidental. The operation appears to have been underpinned by extensive preparatory work by Ukraine's main Directorate of Intelligence, or GUR. This intelligence package reportedly included detailed signals intelligence, or SIGINT, that had mapped the facility's internal radio frequencies, call signs, and operational procedures. Crucially, the GUR had identified the precise timing of the 2 a.m. shift changes and the specific supply truck scheduled for arrival. The entire operation's timing was built around this single, predictable logistical event. As the remaining drones covered the last few miles, the designated supply truck simultaneously approached the main gate, setting the stage for the final infiltration. At 2:08 a.m., the swarm encountered the facility's third defensive layer, a physical barrier of anti-drone steel netting augmented by electronic sensors. This system is designed to either physically snag a drone, forcing a crash, or more critically, trigger its contact fuse prematurely, ensuring any explosion occurs at a safe distance from the building. Alongside the netting, automated infrared sensors scan for the distinct thermal signature of a drone's motor and battery. However, GUR analysis had identified critical, predictable vulnerabilities in this system. This included a physical gap, where the netting contained a necessary opening at the main vehicle gate, creating a natural funnel. Additionally, an environmental and technical flaw was identified. The infrared sensors were commercial-grade models, whose effectiveness is known to be severely degraded by dense fog. The operation was launched specifically during weather conditions that blinded this electronic detection layer, scattering the drone's small heat signatures. At 2:09 AM, the final 20 decoy drones performed their sacrificial role. They broke formation and conducted a direct charge against the Rosgvardia patrol positions from multiple vectors. The perimeter defense erupted into chaotic small arms fire as approximately 60 guards engaged what they perceived to be the main assault. Tracers filled the air, and a Verba man-portable air defense system, or MANPADS, was reportedly fired, its infrared seeker struggling to lock onto the small, low-heat targets in the fog. For the next 60 seconds, all Russian defensive efforts were directed upwards at this decoy swarm. Into this manufactured chaos, the mission commander in Kyiv reportedly broadcast a pre-scripted message over the captured Rosgvardia radio frequency. The message, delivered in fluent Russian, mimicked a routine communication, stating, "New shift stuck at the gate. Traffic's a mess. Open up. We're on a tight schedule." The gate guard, already experiencing sensory overload from alarms and gunfire, processed the routine radio call and connected it to the visual of the familiar supply truck's headlights. He made the decision to open the gate. As the steel barrier slid open, the 4 primary AQ-400 Scythe strike drones, which had been using the truck's large radar and thermal signature to mask their approach, slipped through the gap undetected. At 2:10 AM, a Russian Quick Reaction Force, or QRF, arrived, consisting of 3 Tiger armored vehicles and a truck-mounted Zu-23-2 anti-aircraft cannon. They were approximately 30 seconds too late. The Zu-23-2 gunner attempted to acquire the infiltrating drones. However, this 1960s-era weapon system, while formidable, is designed for engaging larger targets like helicopters, and lacks the rapid slew rate and advanced fire control needed to intercept small, fast-moving drones in their terminal phase. The 4 strike drones, now inside the perimeter, used onboard thermal imagers to acquire their primary target, the main munitions warehouse. Their terminal guidance lock was achieved in milliseconds. The Zu-23-2 gunner fired a stream of 23mm tracers, a desperate attempt to create a barrier of flak, but the drones were already in their terminal dive. The shells passed just behind the final drone. At 2:11 AM, the first Scythe drone impacted the northwestern corner of Building 7, identified as the final assembly and main storage hall. This facility held tens of thousands of assembled mines. The drone's 25-pound warhead was reportedly designed with a hardened nose cone to penetrate the warehouse's steel wall before detonation. The internal explosion unleashed a supersonic overpressure wave, estimated at 300 psi, which hammered the casings of thousands of adjacent TM-89 mines. This, combined with the intense thermal pulse, triggered a near-instantaneous sympathetic detonation. The entire northern half of the warehouse erupted in a massive, single explosion. 3 seconds later, the second drone struck Building 4, the fuse and igniter assembly line. This was a precision strike aimed at neutralizing the fuse and igniter assembly line, igniting volatile chemical precursors and destroying the specialized mechanics workshop, ensuring this critical part of the production line would be offline indefinitely. Finally, the third and fourth drones executed the last step. They flew directly into the burning southern section of Building 7. These were not redundant strikes. They were oxygen feed strikes. The impacts ripped the structure open, allowing a massive influx of oxygen that rapidly escalated the blaze into a self-sustaining firestorm, preventing any effective firefighting. The strategic consequences of this single operation are extensive and multi-layered. An estimated 70% of the Saransk facility, including all primary assembly lines and storage halls containing an estimated 150,000 mines, was destroyed. This represents an immediate capital asset write-off estimated at $100 million. Russia has lost not just its inventory, but the primary means of production for one of its most effective defensive weapons. The Saransk plant was the core of a just-in-time delivery system for the Donbas front. This logistical artery is now severed. For at least the next 6 months, Russia must reroute its entire mine supply chain through secondary, less efficient facilities, likely in Siberia. This adds weeks to delivery times and an estimated $2 million per month in premium logistical costs. Russian field commanders will be forced to ration mines, creating vulnerabilities for Ukrainian forces to exploit. As the Kremlin issued statements attributing the incident to careless smoking, unredacted videos of the mushroom cloud circulated on Telegram. For the local Mordovian population, the illusion of the war as a distant event was shattered. For Russian soldiers in the trenches, the knowledge that the homeland's industrial heartland is vulnerable deals a significant blow to morale. This strike created an impossible dilemma for the Russian General Staff, proving their rear area defense doctrine is obsolete. Forced to choose between protecting frontline armies or the war machine that supplies them, Moscow has reportedly begun pulling an estimated 50 Pantsir air defense systems from frontline sectors to guard critical infrastructure. This redeployment creates new, exploitable gaps in battlefield air defense, inviting further Ukrainian strikes on command posts and artillery depots. In summary, a Ukrainian investment calculated at approximately $1.4 million for 48 drones has resulted in $100 million in direct damages, the crippling of a critical supply line, a major propaganda defeat, and a forced, disadvantageous redeployment of Russian strategic assets. The Saransk operation was not an isolated event. Further southeast in Makhachkala, the capital of Dagestan, a second precision strike occurred. This attack was executed by 2 Lyutii long-range attack drones. Instead of a low-altitude approach, these drones cruised at 30,000 feet over the Caspian Sea, using a flight path that kept them below the radar horizon of Russian air defenses for most of their journey. Their target was not the entire refinery, but a single 200-foot-tall catalytic cracking tower. This was the specific, irreplaceable component required to refine crude oil into high-grade naval fuel. Armed with specialized thermobaric warheads, the drones struck the tower, causing a massive fuel-air explosion that led to secondary fires in adjacent storage tanks. These 2 operations, executed on the same day, were not separate attacks, but a single coordinated strategic operation. The Saransk strike was the body blow. It attacked Russia's future capability, its ability to produce the mines needed to sustain its defensive posture in the long term. The Makhachkala strike was the headshot. It attacked Russia's present capability, degrading the operational readiness of the Black Sea Fleet by destroying its supply of specialized fuel. On October 22nd, Ukraine demonstrated a sophisticated, multi-layered capability to combine deep intelligence, advanced technology, and complex tactical planning. The myth of impenetrability that Russia's S-400 and Pantsir systems were intended to create has been shattered. This operation indicates the Russian industrial rear now functions as a front line, forcing a complete and costly strategic recalculation for Moscow.